Hey everyone, welcome to this very special IV episode of something. It's really just about food, which is obviously what you care about way more than board games. I am joined by Joe Wiggins and Brent Kinney. Joe Wiggins is at All Play, leading the charge over there, and Brent Kinney is U.S. lead at Panda Games Manufacturing. I don't know if that was quite your job title, president of the U.S. I'm not sure. You're the president, right?
I'm in the U.S. I work for Panda. Yeah, that works. General manager of America.
Okay. Great. Awesome. Thanks so much for being here. I'm going to explain why these two specific people are here. I work for two food aficionados, and they always are like, Austin, go get us some, reservations at restaurants, at Gen Con, at Origins. And I feel like I am always texting both of you and being like, okay, where do I get reservations? Because Brent, you grew up around Indianapolis and at least have some homegrown knowledge. And then Joe, I think you might be the person with the most food knowledge in board games. I
think it's pretty safe to say it's like me and Daryl Andrews could probably go neck to neck, but yeah.
Daryl would have been a great one. You're right. But I don't text Daryl. I text you. So
okay.
Anyway, so I was talking to Sam and he's like, I really want to, talk about food, do something special for Gen Con. He's like, do you think you could get Brent and Joe to come talk about their favorite restaurants in Indianapolis? And I said, maybe. So here we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the first thing is, types of food. We'll go through breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But Joe, something that's stuck with the entire IV team is how you've explained how appetizers are usually the best thing on the menu. And I feel like it's a little bit of a hot take. And so could you elaborate on why appetizers are the best thing on the menu?
Yeah, so appetizers are where you're going to find the best food in a restaurant. So if you go to a chef-driven restaurant, like a restaurant where it is chef-curated inspired dishes, right? There's this give and take between where chefs want to do really weird, wild, crazy stuff, and then the management is like, no, that's insane. No one's going to buy that. That's way too expensive. And generally what you find is the creative compromise is, well, you can try that out as an appetizer, because they're not willing to take that much of a financial risk on making something weird and odd and crazy as a main entree if people don't order it. But as an appetizer, it can just live there, and people are willing to be a little bit more adventurous when ordering appetizers anyway. So my thought process here is, if you're going to a really good restaurant, you're going to find the best things is in the appetizer menu. And you're going to want to go for the things that sound the weirdest, right? You're going to be like, why would anyone put that on a menu? Well, obviously they knew it sounded weird, but it was so good that even due to that, they were like, no, we've got to get this out there.
So before having that conversation with you, I thought appetizers were supposed to be crowd pleasers, like mozzarella sticks. Like everybody loves mozzarella sticks, but you wouldn't order mozzarella sticks because that's just way too greasy and gross to eat as an entire meal. So you've really kind of changed perspective. Brent, do you agree with Joe's take on appetizers?
Oh, absolutely. I am pro appetizers. And actually at Panda, our CEO, Michael, he's like the appetizer king. And whenever we have a group dinner, we set an over under on how many appetizers are going to be ordered for the table, because these are kind of the heart of what we do too. So I am 100% on board with this take.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's move into some Gen Con restaurant recommendations. Now, a lot of these probably won't even be walking distance. We're just talking about Indianapolis as a whole. So no distance regulations, but if it is close, that's a bonus, and please mention it. So starting with breakfast, the place currently that my team would go if we had to choose something is probably the Anderson Coffee and Grocery. I don't know if you've been here. This is Sam's go-to place for coffee. Coffee is really important to Sam. I can only drink decaf where I get the shakes, but that's where Sam goes. But not just limited to coffee. Where are your breakfast recommendations?
All right, I'm going to go first because Indianapolis breakfast is something that I'm very passionate about. There is a refurbished, oil and lube car change station like within walking distance from the stadium, that has been rebuilt into being a breakfast only restaurant. And so this like former Jiffy Lube, now downtown Indianapolis restaurant has been awarded a Michelin star. So when you hear all of this together, be like former Jiffy Lube, breakfast only, downtown Indianapolis, Michelin star, you're like, what is going on at this place? And when you walk into Milktooth, that's the name of the restaurant, Milktooth. It is unbelievable. We're talking like amazing craft coffees, some of the best pastries I've ever had in my life, and a breakfast menu that will absolutely blow you away. It is very limited seating. I have gotten there about 45 minutes early, and there are still people waiting in line to get a table. It is really, really great. I found the lines are not quite so bad during the week, but if you're going on the weekend, like expect to wait. But this is one of my favorite breakfast spots in the world, right? Like in the entire world, I would put this as like one of my number one breakfast spots of all time.
Michelin star, I mean, that kind of, I feel like that doesn't happen on breakfast only restaurants, or maybe I'm just not very well informed. That seems absurd.
Especially ones that are serving out of a Jiffy Lube.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. Brent, same or different?
I mean, Milktooth is an amazing pick. If Joe wouldn't have said it, I would have. It's all those things he said and more. Awesome, awesome place. My pick, I'm going to go in a different direction. So I will preface this by saying I'm not a morning person. I have a hard time getting up in the morning. It's just not my best mode is kind of any time before 11 a.m. So for me, breakfast, the vibes have to be right? There has to be a very good feeling that's going on. In the last few years, the place that I've been going to is on Mass Ave. It's called Garden Table. And Garden Table is great because of the vibes. You get there, there's big windows in the front, a lot of sunlight coming in because it's August in Indianapolis and it's hot. Really nicely decorated. The staff there is always super friendly. And I'm also not a coffee guy. So like maybe that's why I don't wake up so well. Caffeine makes me jittery. But they have fresh pressed juice there that is amazing. And like Joe was saying with the appetizers, weird. There's stuff where you're like, I don't think that belongs in a juice. Black pepper, that doesn't feel like it should be in a juice. But you can get a juice flight where you can try like 4 different wild juices. They're super refreshing, super fresh. They've got, really good breakfast rundown there. Their avocado toast is really awesome. And then you got, the mainstays, your blueberry pancakes, your breakfast quiche. I think there's like a pork belly Benedict there that is just, you might not want to have stuff going on later in the day because it's rich, it's a heavy meal. But Garden Table, great vibes, great juice, and my pick for breakfast.
And great latte art too there.
And they do latte art, yeah.
Is this
they write your name in your latte?
Is it a little smaller out, or is it a big place?
I think it's pretty big. Like it's not huge, but it's
okay.
Decent size.
I was trying to think if it was. It felt like a little bit like a grocer that I've been to, but I don't think that was it. Now, lunch is something that's a little hard to talk about at Gen Con because how often do we get out of the hall to eat lunch? And so we're generally, working booths and hanging out. There are some places that I've been recommended to. Most people I know just go out to the block party that has all of all those food trucks and all of that going on. But do you have a lunch recommendation?
I don't do the food trucks. Not that there aren't good stuff there, but the time, the wait, it's just I can't do it. Also, if I've been on like Gen Con, I am walking all day long. I am on my feet all day long. So if I get a chance to sit down for lunch, I'm going to take it. I don't want to stand up eating food out of a truck. Just my thing. There is only one place in Indianapolis that I absolutely must go to every time I'm in Indy for lunch. And that is Kumas Corner. So Kumas Corner is, you're going to need an Uber. It's not walkable, but it's not a far Uber. It's like a $5 Uber, right? a heavy metal burger bar. And it has some amazing burgers. And I will tell you, I don't have any lunch plans because I am most likely going to be scarfing Panera bread sandwiches that we get for the booth staff down in like 30 seconds while I run to my next meeting, because that's just the way Gen Con is. But Sunday, I am going to Kumas Corner for lunch because Kumas Corner is amazing and I love it so much. I highly recommend it. They blare heavy metal nonstop in the restaurant. The bathroom is a sight to behold. So many band stickers all over the place covering the walls. It's a vibe. Like, it is definitely a vibe if you're going to go there. All the burgers are named after like really like crazy black metal bands and stuff like that. Like, it's an intense place, but it is so worth going, and the burgers are really, really good.
Yeah, nice. Brent, you got one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a. Well, Joe knows I love chain restaurants. We can go into that, but I'm gonna go with a local chain in Indy, and I think they've got maybe a location in Ohio and maybe Tennessee, so it's more regional. But there's probably the closest to downtown is the Mass Ave location, a Cajun and Creole restaurant called Yats. And Yats serves etouffee, gumbo, red beans and rice. And the menu rotates daily because they have it they make it all at one location in the morning, and then they take it to there's like 5 or 6 locations around Indianapolis, from my understanding. And it's out, it's out. When they're done, it's done. And you look at the meals there, and it's like rice and then like slop on top of it. And it's like orange slop or like a brown slop or a red slop. And it doesn't look very appetizing. Yeah. And then you take a bite and it's amazing. Like, all the flavors are great. They give you bread. I got a carb thing. I got to have bread, so you can dip the bread in it, the whole thing. So not super expensive, easy to get in and get out of, super tasty. Yats is my pick.
Nice. Those are great picks. I think I'm much more likely to go to the heavy metal burger place just because I love burgers, but those are still both great picks. All right, dinner, obviously the big one. When we're in Indy, both me and Sam love cider. And so the first place we usually hit is Ash and Elm, the cidery there. It's a little bit of an Uber ride. But literally that's what I get for Christmas for Sam every year is a big case of cider from Ash and Elm. And so we're constantly there. The food's great too, but you can do cider flights and it's wonderful. I love going there. And so that's a mainstay for us. Joe, what's your biggest hitter?
This was a hard one because I had to juggle back and forth between what I consider the best restaurant in Indianapolis and what I consider my favorite restaurant in Indianapolis, which are two different things. And maybe I'll do an honorable mention for the other one, but I'm going to talk about Harry and Izzy's. Okay. Harry and Izzy's. And again, Harry and Izzy's is like this joint combination with St. Elmo Steakhouse. So if you're talking about one, you're also talking about the other. They're the same thing. Harry and Izzy's is just easier to get into. So I go there and I don't have to wear a sports coat. So that's why I don't do St. Elmo's. Harry and Izzy's is a fantastic steakhouse. And I mean, one of the better steakhouses I've been to. And when I go to a steakhouse, I play the classics. Okay. And I think if you go to a steakhouse and you don't play the classics, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? So sure. When you show up to Harry and Izzy's, this is what you're going to do. You're going to say, bring me a shrimp cocktail. They are famous for their shrimp cocktail. It is amazing. The spiciest horseradish you will ever put in your mouth. It will literally clear your sinuses, and it is amazing. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to order a wedge salad. No, you're not going to get a Caesar. You're going to get a wedge salad, okay? Because Harry and Izzy's does something borderline like ritualistic with blue cheese and bacon on that wedge salad. And I love it. It is one of my favorite things that I eat all year long is the wedge salad from Harry and Izzy's. Next thing you're going to do, everyone's got their choice of cut, but my personal preference, I'm going to go ribeye and I'm going to go medium rare. That's what I'm going to get. I'm going to get the peppercorn sauce on the side. And then for dessert, I'm splitting, okay? I'm splitting the bread pudding with somebody else at the table because they will bring bread pudding that is so enormous that if you can finish it in one sitting, I swear to God, it is almost a food challenge in and of itself. In fact, we went to Harry and Izzy's last year and we all had a bread pudding buddy at this dinner that we were at. Not a single duo was able to finish their bread pudding.
That's insane.
So
That's
Harry and Izzy's play the classics.
Nice. Brent?
I love that pick, Joe. I had that one loaded up. I was gonna go Harry and Izzy's because I thought you were going in a different direction. But I co-sign everything Joe said. The cocktail, the shrimp cocktail, amazing. And we were talking about vibes earlier. I like the vibe at Harry and Izzy's a little bit better because it's not quite as stuffy. St. Elmo's, it is a classic. If you want to do the classic steakhouse, it's got, you know, rich mahogany shelves with leather-bound books and the whole thing. But Harry and Izzy's is the pick. So my dinner pick shares something in common with Joe's because they also serve a bread pudding that I've been thinking about for the last year, and it's Bluebeard. So I don't know if this was your other one that you were going to.
That was my
Joe.
other pick. I'm so glad you're talking about it.
All right, we're vibing. We're vibing then. So Bluebeard is a farm-to-table restaurant, all, you know, freshly sourced produce, meats, the whole thing, and their menu rotates, but there's a few things that stay the same, namely that bread pudding is on there and is amazing. But it's always fun to go and see what's new on the menu. You know, they usually have a fish dish. They usually have a steak of some sort, like a pork chop that's always really good. The pairings with the sides are always on point. And, you know, every time I go there, I get something different. And every time I go there, I think I find my new favorite dish because they haven't missed. Every single one has been good that I switch it up with. But again, maybe it's an Indiana thing now that I'm thinking about it. If you go to Bluebeard, get the bread pudding. Everything else is going to be wonderful, but that's one to get.
Nice. Well, that is a fantastic list. Any passing honorable mentions as we run out?
I got one more on my list because I was going to talk about Bluebeard, but I got one more, and that's Root and Bone. This is an Uber. You're going to have to get away from downtown in order to be. By the way, Harry and Izzy's is like super walkable. It's like right there. But Root and Bone, Austin, I actually took you here. This, I think, was the first meal that we ever had together. Was at Root and Bone. It is a really nice Southern restaurant, kind of like Southern style cooking. And the one thing that I remember more than anything else from that meal was the creme brulee banana pudding, and it was
so good,
amazing. Like
I also think the tea brined chicken was one of the better chickens I'd ever had in my life.
Yeah,
I didn't even know tea brining was a thing.
You're chicken capital of the world.
Yeah, so good.
So Root and Bone would be my honorable mention here.
I've got an honorable mention. So Austin, you said up top, I'm from Indiana. I went to school at Indiana University down in Bloomington, so I'm a Hoosier through and through. My Gen Con recommendation is, hey, you're playing games, it's late at night, you want a late night bite, you don't really care what you have, you got to eat something. Bar food, I got to recommend Kilroy's. It's a mainstay at IU, and they got a downtown location in Indianapolis. They have stuffed breadsticks, mozzarella cheese, pepperoni. They're big, they're greasy, they're cheesy, they're amazing. You like 2 of them is like a whole meal. So you can get drinks, you can get these stuffed breadsticks. It's an institution in Bloomington at IU. They've got the Indy location, and I think after some later gaming sessions there in the convention hall, it's a short walk, and you can get your grease and cheese on there.
Incredible. This all sounds amazing. Very, very excited to try out some of your recommendations. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing them with me.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, I mean, excited. Thanks so much, and hope you enjoyed Gen Con food recommendations, and I hope you get the chance to try some. See ya.